Hello everyone, Alison Steinberg with LindellTV. We are here at the nation's capital with Senator Kevin Cramer. Senator, thank you so much for being with us today.
It's so
great
my pleasure.
To have you.
Thank you.
Of course. Well, the government shutdown unfortunately continues. This has been dubbed the Schumer shutdown, Democrat shutdown. And interestingly enough, Democrats are somehow blaming it on Republicans, but it's them that's holding it up in the Senate right now currently, right?
Well, there's no question. I mean, the evidence is 8 votes with all Republicans but 1 voting for it, and all Democrats but 3 voting against it. So it's and Chuck Schumer has made it crystal clear that his people are not to vote for anything that opens the government because it might help Donald Trump. All the while they sort of try to extort some huge subsidies for the insurance industry as sort of the bargaining chip, and it makes no sense whatsoever. It's like I always say about Democrats, funding the government's like falling off a log for them, and somehow suddenly they find themselves on the "we don't like the government anymore" train. It doesn't make any sense.
It's really incredible, especially when you consider the fact that the House passed the clean, nonpartisan continuing resolution that Democrats voted on 13 times previously under Biden, and even as recently as March of this year. What's their justification for not passing it now?
So it's a really great point, because that's what's so absurd. It's like the world's upside down. It's strictly politics. Their left flank, and when I say flank, I mean the way out here, is demanding that they not fund the government while Donald Trump's president. In fact, what they want is chaos. They think that they do best in chaos, so they're trying to create chaos, and the problem is that there's just a whole bunch of people not getting paid, services not being provided, farmers not getting their checks, just all kinds of hurt that they bestow on people. But Chuck Schumer just last week said, I mean, if you can imagine, he said, well, every day this government shutdown is good for us, and everyone's going, who's us? Who are us? You is what you mean. And it's not even really good for him, quite honestly, Alison. It's not good for him because, like you said, he helped lead 13 continuing resolutions passed overwhelmingly during Biden's term. He helped lead the Democrats to support the one in March that was actually a continuation of the previous Biden budget while Donald Trump was president. And it's that incident that has caused him to be paranoid today, because the left wing went berserk on him. They threatened to take him down. AOC has threatened to run against him. I frankly think Chuck Schumer is a dead man walking politically. I don't think he'll ever be the leader again of the Democratic Senate, but somehow he's going to try to cling to that hope and sort of redeem himself among the socialist crowd. Remembering in his state, the largest city, obviously New York City, is about to elect a communist mayor. And so that's what he's up against, I believe, is that he's just trying to be more communist than the future communist mayor of New York City. Yeah,
and it's so sad to see such a great city like New York City turning towards communism, more people widely embracing that, which is just beyond me. It's also so sad that the American people have to suffer at the behest of the Democrats, who would rather keep the government closed for political reasons than reopen it so we can get back to work and get our troops paid, get federal employees paid. It's just really despicable. But to add to that, you're talking about Chuck Schumer sort of pandering to the radical left. There's other things that I think Democrats are doing within this shutdown. I mean, Maxine Waters admitted to me on the steps of the Capitol they want free health care for everyone, including illegal aliens. That's a factor as well?
That's a big factor. So the reality is, the reason this is so peculiar for Democrats to support shutting down the government is because what they're trying to do is use it as leverage to get all kinds of other weird stuff. Just as an example, the bill that they've been offering on the Senate floor and we've been killing time and time again, not only is it a continuing resolution, but it's, instead of 7 weeks, it's only 4 weeks, which is now down to 2. And instead of a clean CR, which is continuing spending at the current levels, it adds almost $1.5 trillion over the course of 4 weeks. I mean, you can't make it up. And a big chunk of that is to pay for everybody's health care, which is what Maxine Waters wants. Now, we can debate those crazy ideas, but you can't debate them in the context of a continuing resolution. If you want to have that debate, open the government and we'll talk about it. Now, you better be damn persuasive if you're going to convince a guy like me that socialized medicine is a good idea. But at the very least, open the government so that we can function as a functional body.
Exactly. That should be the bare minimum. And in addition to that, Speaker Johnson actually highlighted this in a press briefing the other day that I wanted to run by you. included in the $1.5 trillion list of demands is also absurd things for global causes, like $24.6 million to climate resilience in Honduras, $13.4 million to civic engagement in Zimbabwe, $3.9 million to LGBT democracy grants in the Balkans. I mean, where do they come up with this stuff? And this is what the big beautiful bill sought to get rid of, and now they're just pushing endlessly to get that back. And
therein lies one of the problems. The fact that we were able to pass the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, working families tax breaks, that was so offensive to them that they now want to repeal all that, as though somehow, after successfully passing major economic legislation that provides tax relief to working families and more money for our military to defend democracy around the world on behalf of the United States, they have all this other wacky stuff that they want to reinstate, including health care for illegal aliens. These are things that the American public, roundly rejected when they elected Donald Trump and when they elected a majority of Republicans in the House and the Senate. So for them to somehow hold that hostage is just, it's absurd, and I think it's really clear to the American public that it's absurd.
It is absolutely absurd. That might even be an understatement, to be honest with you.
Well, I rarely understate anything, but that's, yes, I think you might be right.
Yeah, I think we're together on that. Now, I want to get your thoughts on the 60-vote filibuster rule in the Senate. This is sort of a hot topic right now, obviously, because the CR is sitting in the Senate, and we can't seem to pass it through because the Democrats won't come around. People like Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene are now saying that Republicans could change the trajectory of this if we change the Senate 60-vote filibuster rule, which, could potentially set a very dangerous precedent for Democrats in the future had they, had control of the Senate. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, Democrats at a rate of about 3 times more often have all 3 branches of government more often than the Republicans do. So it would be absurd. And once they had that, they would start packing the Supreme Court of the United States. They would add some states, some liberal states like Puerto Rico and the District of Columbia, so they'd have permanent senators forever. I mean, it would be absurd. Not to mention, it really violates the principles of a bicameral legislature, which was really important to our founders. It was the single greatest debate in the Constitutional Convention was the creation of the House and the Senate, because they were going to only have a unicameral one. And the reason they did that is because they wanted to have a check, one body on the other. And the Senate, with its 6-year terms, every state having equal power, little states like North Dakota having equal power to New York and California. There's so much. It's not just tradition. There's real founder intent in the 60-vote rule. They didn't create the 60-vote rule or the filibuster. They created a filibuster, but it wasn't designed this way. But the point of the filibuster is to protect, yes, it may look like right now the rights of the minority, but it's really, really important to sort of moderate, if you will, the way this place works. If we did away with the filibuster, you might as well do away with the House of Representatives and just have a Senate. Yeah. Or do away with the Senate and just have a House of Representatives. And boy, as Republicans, that would be a bad outcome for us.
Yeah, absolutely. As Speaker Johnson said, because I asked him about that too, he said that it would just pave the way for a Marxist takeover. And I think that absolutely would be the case. But then you have other people saying, well, Democrats are going to be corrupt no matter what, so might as well beat them at their own game.
Yeah. So, well, believe me, we'd be handing them the victory. We wouldn't beat them because, again, tradition just tells us, history just tells us that they control the 3 legs of the government much more often than Republicans do. And what they would do with that would be disastrous. And remember, they tried to do this. They tried to do this in order to pass Nancy Pelosi's federal takeover of elections. 2 Democrats in the Senate who are no longer with us, Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona and Joe Manchin from West Virginia, were the only 2 people that on the Senate side or on the Democratic side that blocked that from happening. Right. So no, they would relish eliminating the filibuster. The Senate Democrats would like that very much.
We can't let them have that. No. I want to get your thoughts on repealing Obamacare altogether, because ultimately that's a huge factor in all of this, right? Many Republicans are very much against it. This is a Democrat policy that was voted by them, enacted by them, and it's just proven really to be, I think, a total failure. I mean, it doesn't keep the premiums any lower, and in fact, you have to continue on with emergency level spending to keep it up, right?
That's a great point, Alison, because Obamacare is the reason we've seen this inflation in healthcare.
Yes.
And I don't know why anybody would be surprised by that. When you flood a certain industry with free money, in essence, it's not free. It's not free to the future generations on whose back we borrow it, but it's free to the insurance companies that get it, and they funnel all that money into the healthcare system. You're going to have inflation. Anything that the federal government pays for is going to be highly inflated versus, say, a consumer price index. That's why college tuition is multiple times higher than the index. It's why defense spending on weapon systems and ammunition and whatnot isn't so much higher. It's why healthcare is so much higher, because that's what an oversupply of money does to a market. So yeah, Obamacare is the reason we're dealing with a lot of this inflation today, and will be for some time.
Absolutely. So I think now we're at a point where people are asking, well, what is the solution here? Either Democrats are pushing to reopen the government and get Obamacare back up and running, but I don't think many people actually want that. I think that it's been proven to be a massive failure. So do you know, to your knowledge, is there anything Republicans are working on as an alternative or a different solution to Obamacare?
That's a great question. I mean, in terms of a healthcare alternative, there's not a lot going on right now. What we have done over the years, and I think oftentimes gets lost, is, we did undo much of Obamacare. There's still the basics of Obamacare, the exchanges, if you will, the subsidies there. But what we did do, and some of this is through court action as well. For example, eliminated the mandate that everybody has to have insurance. I mean, that national requirement proved too much for the Supreme Court. So there's that, and then we have cut back on some things that has slowly deteriorated the initial effect of Obamacare. But remember, it was during the pandemic that they passed this crazy enhancement, to premium enhancement for the pandemic only. Right. They put a date of December 31st, 2025 as its expiration date. That's now what they're trying to extort from us, to make that permanent, so that all that extra money could be funneled right to the CEOs of insurance companies, while the cost of healthcare continues to rise, and the national debt with it. So yeah, we can work on some alternatives, and I'm not on that particular committee, the HELP committee, and there are some ideas that have been floating around. We've got some really conscientious members. The president himself has done some incredible work in bringing down drug prices. That's a big part of the cost of healthcare, and now he's even working more in this term with the actual companies themselves, onshoring more of the ingredients for pharmaceuticals, for example, bringing that supply chain home. Working with the companies to bring down prices, to make sure that people in Europe are paying the same price as people in the United States. Otherwise, we're subsidizing them. That doesn't make much sense in an America First economy. So anyway, the president himself is doing a lot, and we're following his lead.
Yeah, he's doing great work. Although I don't love his partnership with Pfizer, I gotta say. But the Democrats should love it, since they're all about getting triple vaxxed and boosted and all that. So you think they'd give him credit, right?
Yeah, no. The president's work on vaccines has been one of those struggles for a lot of conservatives, for sure. But what he's doing with Pfizer really is important, because he is bringing so much more of that production into the United States. Right. They are following suit. They are responding to his request and his stimulation to bring more of that in. And what that ought to do is, first thing it does, it's a national security issue, because when China is the producer of most of the supply chain in the pharmaceutical industry, that means they can control whether we even get what we need in a pandemic, whether it's not even just vaccines, but any kind of treatments and whatnot. So it's a noble cause, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, because Democrats claim to be all about the healthcare for Americans, right? Yet in their proposed $1.5 trillion package, it actually takes out $50 billion for rural health care in various parts of America. Yeah,
this is something we fought hard for in the One Big Beautiful Bill, was this pot of money to help rural hospitals. In North Dakota, I have what are called critical access hospitals. Those are rural hospitals that are more than 50 miles from the next hospital. We have 37 of those, and they operate on very, very thin margins. I mean, in some cases, it's a negative margin, and we're far better off helping them be better, and then providing a little bit of funding to help them be better, hook them up with other networks and whatnot. And that's a much more modest investment than, say, just letting them wither on the vine, and then all of a sudden you're paying people for access 100 miles away or 200 miles away rather than have that access close to home, where they also get better care.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think the Democrat motto should be healthcare for everyone except for Americans in rural communities,
Yeah,
right?
right. Well, good old red America.
That's right.
Yeah.
Last couple of questions as we wrap up here. There is a No Kings protest scheduled
That's what I hear.
for this Saturday.
Yeah.
It's Democrats rallying together. They're actually going so far as to laughably call it a Love America rally.
Yeah.
Do you anticipate it being Love America
Oh,
rally?
well, I don't expect it'll be much about Love in America. It'll be on America Last rally. Again, they're just, they can't get over the last election.
Yeah.
And they're just rejecting it, and they're going to do everything they can to create as much chaos as they can. They detest the idea that people can't be here illegally and get all the benefits. Many of the benefits you and I don't get, they get for free, whether they're criminals or not. I mean, it's just kind of an insane thing and it's a defenseless position. But one thing about their protests and their rallies, they're well attended and everybody's well paid. Yeah,
yep,
for being
that's
there.
for sure.
Yeah, so.
That's a great point you raised. So we've kind of heard some rumors lingering around that perhaps the government will reopen after this No Kings protest. Do you have any whisperings from the inside as to when this shutdown will finally end?
Well,
and what do you think?
Yeah, we've had a number of Democrats that have said that their problem with voting to open the government before this Saturday when the rallies start is that angry mob could turn on them.
Right.
And so they feel like that may be an inflection point. So we'll see about that next Monday when we get back here. I do think, though, one of the things that Chuck Schumer wants is he wants to see those premiums go up. They're going to go up whether we agree with them or not. The premiums are going to go up because of Obamacare. I mean, the inflection of money does that.
Yeah.
But they kind of want to see that get posted like November 1st. I think is when a lot of those premiums would be posted. And they think that somehow would add pressure.
Okay.
The problem is what they're selling, people aren't buying.
Yeah.
They're not buying socialism.
Yeah.
They're just not. Maybe in New York City they are,
Yeah.
but most other places they're not buying socialism. And I just, and then the polling's showing it, by the way. I mean, there's polling out today that shows like on a 2-to-1 basis, people prefer reopening the government and then negotiating as opposed to making the negotiation part of reopening the government.
Yeah. So let's reopen the government and everyone get back to work,
There you
and
go.
we can charge on here in America and make it great again,
That's
right?
Exactly right. That's what we need to do. We need to do the minimum. That's just do our jobs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Senator, thank you so much for your
My
time,
pleasure,
and thanks for
Alison.
being
Always
here today.
Always my honor.
Thank you so much.